I thought it might be interesting to show you the view from the very top of the main house. I just love it up here. I'm looking at the European copper beech tree. Such a peaceful place. The original slate roof of the main house, the former carriage house roof without its original slate and cupola. This picture is from about 1925, showing the south sides of the carriage house and the main house. Notice the cupola on the carriage house and the bungalow roof. The backyard, the granite test area, parking area, the former outbuilding, which we refer to as the cottage, with its original slate roof on the east side and the new slate roof over the circa 1945 addition to this building. The upper driveway, more of the main house's slate roof, the west yard. I'm looking down to the second floor west porch roof, looking down at part of the terraced hillside, looking south and back to the European copper beech. I'm on the west side of the house, moving north to the front of the home towards Chemung Street. More of the west yard and the clump of linden trees. A view of the neighborhood. We have the original iron cresting for this roof, but it is in need of repair and is on our to-do list. The iron cresting was put on top of the house in May of 1883. It was cast by Francis and Hall's Foundry in Waverly, New York. Looking down at our northeast corner, the corner of Chemung and Athens streets. I'm zooming in on the southwest corner of our property, the starting point of part 1 of this virtual tour. This section, which had the iron crusting all the way around it, has been handed down as being known as the Widow's Walk. One definition of a widow's walk is a railed platform built on a roof, originally in early New England houses, typically for providing an unimpeded view of the sea. The name is said to have come from the many wives of mariners who became widows. The women would watch from the roof area for the return of their husbands, who were often taken by the sea, leaving the women widows. When we are able to put the iron crusting back up, I will look at it as the crown of our enchanting East Empress. I am now standing on the roof of the second floor west porch. The linden trees with quince underneath, the fast-growing unidentified tree that planted itself, accent fencing, notice the sidewalk from the parking area to the carriage house. This sidewalk contains pieces of the carriage step, or horse block as the newspaper of 1878 called it. We found these pieces buried on the property, close to where we laid them as a temporary sidewalk. Putting the carriage step back together is another project on our to-do list. Notice the original family's last name, Slaughter, carved out on this stone. From the August 3, 1878 newspaper, a very fine horse block and hitching post were put out in front of the house on Chemung Street. We have not found the hitching post or any remnants of it yet. I am now across the street, Athens Street, and I am looking at the southeast corner of our property. This lot, 7 Athens Street, was the second site of Waverly's only octagon home. This picture from about 1906 was sent to us by a descendant of the family who rented one side of the octagon home from the Slaughter family. This is the Evans family. This is the only picture we have of the octagon home. This lot was sold off from the original Slaughter property in 1950 as a building lot, and this home was built. The octagon home had remained here up until the early 1930s. We purchased this part of our property in January of 2017, and with this purchase, we rejoined the original Slaughter estate 67 years later after it had been separated. Notice our stone fence that separates the lot. Back in the early 1900s, there was some kind of a hedgerow that separated it. This picture is from about 1925. Our lower driveway to the parking area, 9 Athens Street, the former carriage house, the European copper beech tree. The original purple leaf or copper beech was discovered in a forest in Germany before 1772, and then became the most common beech tree in the 19th century gardens. Depending on the time of year, the leaves on our tree look like copper and at other times purple, and in the autumn the leaves turn a golden yellow. There are always leaves left on this tree all winter and into the next spring, when the new leaves are coming out. From underneath the canopy, the leaves are green. We frequently need to trim this tree so that the passerby on the sidewalk can walk under its canopy. The village trimmed branches that were overhanging too low over the street last year in 2019. There are several species and varieties of the beech trees, but the queen of the beech trees is the European beech. And just like we have named all of our buildings, we have also named this tree, Entrancing East Empress. In Europe, the lumber from this type of tree is used in building homes. Many of the wealthy families of the 1800s had these trees on their estates. The trees have been known to live anywhere from 150 up to 300 years. We believe this one was planted here around 1879, but not knowing for sure, nor knowing how old it was when it was planted here, but guessing it could be at least 141 years old. The root system is shallow and expansive, and the roots and bark of this tree resemble an elephant. These trees normally start flowering when they are 30 to 80 years old. The flowers appear shortly after the leaves appear in the spring and are called catkins. Our tree flowered this spring and usually flowers every other year. The catkins contain triangular seeds known as beechnuts or mass, normally 2 to a cupule. The catkin opens up as the seed matures, and in the autumn the seeds and catkins drop to the ground. One year the catkins were so thick in the yard that I raked up 2 wheelbarrows full from the front yard of the carriage house, just in order to be able to mow the yard. The beechnuts are no longer eaten by humans, for they have been found to be toxic in large quantities. I'm looking at our landscaped bank, and I'll be taking a closer look at this in part 5 of this tour. I am now across the street on Chemung Street. And thus ends part 4 of a tour of Zehr Estate's grounds.